One of the oldest and deepest human questions, posed, for example, by Socrates many centuries ago: how does one live well in the city? The question of living a life that's not only successful, but more importantly, meaningful or purposeful, is at the heart of many people's lives, often unarticulated. Dr. Paul, you have a really remarkable story about this search for meaning in your own life. Would you like to share with our viewers your own account of that story?
Sure. Back in the early 1990s, I was questioning the purpose of life and looking for meaning to existence and to life, as we all ask ourselves throughout the history, throughout the ages. And I had the opportunity to contact Mother Teresa. She had had a heart attack in La Jolla, California, 1992, and I thought she'd probably be recuperating in one of her homeless shelters in Tijuana, Mexico. So I called, I had permission to go. And at the time, I felt a considerable amount of concern whether I was living a good Christian life or what it means to be a good Christian physician as a vocation and profession. So I sought her out. I flew down to San Diego, rented a car, and met her in Tijuana on a very hot summer day. And I had a singular question for her. The question I asked her was, Mother, can you tell me what Jesus is going to tell me at the moment of my death? What is he going to ask me at the moment of my death? Because if I understood what criteria he's going to use to judge me worthy, then I would have a more clear understanding of the purpose of life, of what it means to be a good Catholic physician. I thought the answer would be quite complex, but she found it to be very simple. And she directed me to Matthew 25. She said that was a foundation of her religious order. And she specifically told me, and here's how she described it. She said, at the time of your death, or when you close your eyes for the last time, Jesus said clearly in Matthew 25, he's going to separate all of us just as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. We've heard this 1,000 times. And those on the right, he'll say, you shall enter the kingdom of glory. Because I was hungry, you fed me. I was naked, you clothed me. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was sick, which was very important to me, and you tended to me. And they will say, but Lord, when did we see you naked or hungry? We didn't know it was you. And he will say, and she took my hand, and she raised my 5 fingers, and she said, Jesus said, I'll tell you the truth, whatever you do for the least of my brothers and sisters. And she touched each of my fingers, and she said, you did it to me. You did it to me. She told me specifically, Jesus Christ comes in the distressing disguise of the poor every day, the leper, the hungry, the lonely, those suffering, and asked us to love him. She explained to me that you'll be judged on how you love, how you gave yourself out for others, how you served humanity with compassion.
It's interesting that this encounter took place at your own desire to see her at the top of a very successful career. It's not as though you were flailing in your career, you're at the top of your game, and yet you felt something lacking, and that was purposefulness or meaning.
Right. At the time, in 1991 actually, I felt a sense of anxiety and stress, additional stress. And I thought probably it was because of lack of further materialism. So I thought, I'll see more patients, I'll make more money, and I'll become a chief of the Department of Cardiology. A year later, I was chief of the Department of Cardiology, I made more money, I was seeing more patients, I was more miserable.
Yeah.
And I'm happy and
when everything you always wanted wasn't enough.
Everything that I thought would give me what is conventionally considered success in a materialistic world, I had achieved, and I was empty.
Lisa, you must, in your work at the Career Center, encounter students all the time. You deal, I know, mostly with graduate students. What are the questions they bring? Are they able to articulate their desires, or what are the most common questions you encounter among the students?
Well, I think one of the things that they often come in with is this sense of, is this really where I should be? So in graduate school, any graduate student knows you invest a lot of time, a lot of energy. You have to be really more than 100% committed, as you know. And I think there has to be this incredible passion, and you have to, you know, it's not all good times. It's some very tough work. And so they often will come in feeling this kind of discontentment, wondering, am I in the right spot? Am I using the talents that I have in the right way? And often they feel some kind of disconnect. I mean, in other words, they came in thinking it would be one way, and it's a different way. So,
what you mentioned the words talents or gifts. One of the key things, it seems to me, is to identify what those are, not just in terms of skill set, but also connecting that with passion. In other words, I suspect it's not enough just to be good at something. You have to do something you love or enjoy.
Well, exactly. And I think so many of the students here, they're so bright. They're probably good at lots of things. And I think actually many of them ended up here in graduate school because they were very good at what they were doing. They had faculty that said, "You're really bright. You should go to graduate school."
Mm-hmm.
And so here they are. And they get into their program, and maybe halfway through, maybe even before that, they can't sleep quite as well at night, and they're thinking, should I be here? Why did I choose to come here? I may be good at doing this, maybe I'm strong in science, strong at math, but is this what I love? Is this what gives me joy?
Mm-hmm.
And I think they come to my office to maybe try to seek someone or some test or something that will
Sure,
tell them,
sure.
what should I do?
They
go a
often
different
desire, I
route.
think, more clarity than it's possible for any of us in this life. And I think
Right.
sometimes they just like you to give them the answer, or
Right.
me to give them the answer. I talked to an undergraduate recently who is extremely good at his major, but he doesn't enjoy it. And he has no trouble with the academic component. He doesn't hate it, doesn't dislike it, but it's not life-giving to him. He's actually taking a very different course. He's changing majors radically because he found something that he really loves, and he's going to pursue that instead.